a child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed its star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, and the land of Judah are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler, who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. May God bless our hearing, reading, and understanding of God's holy word this morning. Amen. Well, we are in what the church calls the season after Epiphany. Epiphany was, anyone know when Epiphany was? The choir knows, because they were at the Epiphany concert. January 6th. And it's a day that we celebrate the discovery of the Christ child by the three kings, or the three wise men, or as a friend of mine calls them, the three wise guys. The star stopped, so the story goes, and they found the babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. And then afterwards, they head back to their own countries by a different road because they're afraid of Herod. And as they go, they begin to share what they have seen with people along the way, that a new king is born, a new king has come. And surely, but slowly, with every step, the news begins to spread until it is spread throughout the land. Like the song we sang, "Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere, Jesus Christ is born." That's the story anyway. So on Epiphany and the Sundays following, we celebrate not just the three kings' discovery of the Christ child, but the world's discovery as well. Which means that Christmas isn't over yet. In fact, it's just beginning. How many of you just went into panic mode when I said that? Because I know that we all want Christmas to be done, which is normal after the hecticness and franticness of the month of December. It's easy to want to put Christmas and everything with it all behind us. I had a friend on Facebook exclaim with great pride and joy that on December 26th, before she had had her coffee, the tree was down and tossed into the woods, the ornaments and the decorations were put away, the tinsel was in the trash along with the leftover cookies. She was done. Christmas is over, she said. I was shocked. So I immediately unfriended her. Because that's what you do on Facebook, right? When you don't want to hear about anyone's antics anymore, you unfriend them. But truthfully, I was a little bothered by this, because just the night before, she was singing, "O come all ye faithful, and glory to the newborn King." I know this because I know what church she goes to. And then the next day, she acted like it never happened. And my sincere apologies to anyone else who has done the same. As I had mentioned, at our house, we leave everything up. Trees, decorations, until Epiphany. And even when the tree, which when we used to have real ones, have given up the ghost and there are needles everywhere, we still keep it up. It's a tradition. A messy tradition, but a tradition nonetheless. But it's not just my friend who has this attitude. For lots of people, once they hit December 26th, Christmas is over. It is time to move on. It's why the Sunday after Christmas Eve is known as, anyone know what it's called? Low Sunday. And that's why after Advent and Christmas Eve, where attendance in some churches double, things get back to normal real quick. And I want to say to all those folks, wait, come back, we're not done yet. Except I don't, because I'm polite. And I'm afraid if I start chasing people down and yelling at them, I might lose my job. Maybe I shouldn't be so afraid. As tempting as it is to box Christmas up and put it away, along with the babe lying in the manger, which we've kept out for today, we are just getting started. Christmas is just beginning. I was reminded of this some years ago. It happened at a Christmas pageant, because all the great moments happen at Christmas pageants. My story takes place at my first church in Connecticut. Someone had said, you know, we have never had a Christmas pageant in this church. And I said, well, let's have one. Christmas Eve, 5 o'clock. How hard could that be? Well, for those who have ever been part of a Christmas pageant, you know how hard it is. It is akin to God creating the heavens and the earth out of chaos. During the rehearsals, the cows kept fighting with the sheep. The shepherds kept getting lost and somehow taking a right and ending up in the balcony. The angels' halos kept sliding off their heads, literally and figuratively. I was sure that this would be our first and our last Christmas pageant. Finally, it was Christmas Eve. We gathered. The church was full. The energy level was high, as it always is at the 5 o'clock family service. I settled down right up in front with baby Jesus' mother to help direct if necessary. Mary and Joseph walked up the aisle right on cue and placed the baby Jesus, which was a beautiful little 3-month-old girl, in the manger. No dolls for us. We were doing this right. Where is he? I heard a young child whisper from a few rows back. Now, you may know that you usually don't get to see the baby Jesus during a Christmas pageant. You may see some feet sticking up in the air, but mostly you only see the shepherds and the angels looking on, adoring the holy infant. This was no exception. Where is he? The child whispered again. Adults come to see the pageant and their children or grandchildren or the other kids in church. The kids come to see the baby Jesus. The shepherds started to walk down the aisle, and miracle of miracles, they did not take a right turn and end up in the balcony. They came down the aisle and they took their place. We held our breath as the cows and the sheep meandered onto the altar and gathered around the manger together. The angels, with their halos slightly askew, came up and belted out, "Hark the herald angels sing." It was going wonderfully until, right towards the end, the baby Jesus started crying, her little feet sticking up in the air, kicking wildly. The young girl who was playing Mary looked down at baby Jesus' mother and me, her eyes wide with fear, although still smiling and never breaking out of character. But her look said it all. What should I do? So the baby's mother and I urged her to pick up the baby Jesus. We used complicated hand signals. We whispered loudly, "Pick her up, pick her up." We smiled and we prompted. Finally, after a couple of minutes of this, the young boy who was playing Joseph leaned over to Mary and said loudly enough for all to hear, "Pick her up." So she did. She leaned over, and out of the manger she picked up a beautiful little baby. And we all got to see the baby Jesus. A little over 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the birth of the Christ child, wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. Epiphany reminds us that we have to pick him up and spread the word that Jesus Christ is born. Christmas isn't over. It's just beginning. And in case you're wondering how to spread the good news, I'm going to close with this very familiar and this great reading from Howard Thurman, "When the Song of the Angels is Stilled." When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among people, to make music in your heart. Christmas isn't over. It's just beginning. Thanks be to God. Amen. We wonder where Jesus is. He's here lying in the manger.